Design beyond ordinary. Witness creativity that redefines the possible. Let your ideas define the next digital era. Thinking creatively. Exploring possibilities. Unleashing a world designed beyond limits.
IX25.
Welcome to Westfield Campus, a modern online education platform that brings world-class learning to your screen. From Sri Lanka to the world, we empower learners through innovation, accessibility, and quality education. Our vision is to be a distinguished private institution that empowers individuals to become innovative leaders, forward-thinking professionals, and responsible global citizens. And our mission is to provide a dynamic and personalized learning environment that combines academic rigor with practical experience, fostering intellectual curiosity, creativity, and leadership. We are committed to offering high-quality education, promoting interdisciplinary learning, and preparing students to thrive in a diverse and rapidly evolving world. Through our commitment to excellence, ethical values, and community engagement, we aim to create a positive impact on both the individual and society. Westfield Campus, empowering individuals to achieve personal and professional success. Why choose Westfield Campus? 100% online Zoom-based lectures, globally recognized qualifications, assignment-based evaluations, academic and professional courses, affordable fees. Courses and programs offered by us: business management, human resources and psychology, quality management, information technology, artificial intelligence. Even though we're 100% online, you're never alone. Our virtual classrooms are interactive, engaging, and supported by real-time mentorship. Our students learn, share, and grow, no matter where they are. Enroll now, learn from anywhere, graduate with confidence. It's your turn to take the next step. Join the digital revolution in education with Westfield Campus.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you to the World of Design and Innovation with IX25. Today, we're kicking off our very first workshop, The Backbone of Great UX, Engineering Robust Systems for Success. We're so glad to have such an amazing audience here, ready to explore how great design and strong engineering come together to create seamless and powerful user experiences. I'm Nithika Jayasinghe, and I'll be your moderator this session. I'll be guiding you through today's workshop and making sure everything flows smoothly as we dive into this exciting topic. Now, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Charith Wickramasinghe, Senior Software Engineer at EarnIn USA. With over 7 years of experience, Mr. Charith is a back-end engineer specializing in microservices, cloud computing, and scalable architectures. He has worked with some of the most well-known companies in the industry, including EarnIn, WSO2, and 99X. His experience in building high-performance systems that power exceptional user experiences makes him the perfect person to lead today's session. If you have any questions or inquiries during this session, feel free to click the Padlet link shared in the Zoom chat box. Let's welcome Mr. Charith Wickramasinghe. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Nituki. That reminds me to update my LinkedIn and get it up to date. But yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here. Very excited to talk to you about engineering for experience. So let's dive right into it. I'll share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Cool. Can everyone see my screen? Is it still rendering? Can I get a hint?
Yes, sir, we can
Yeah,
see.
we can see it, sir.
All right, awesome. Okay. So today's topic is going to be about engineering for experience, building systems that power great user experience. So Netuka gave a good explanation, good introduction, but I had a slide too, so I'll just go over it just because I did it. So my name is Charith Wickramasinghe. I have been in the industry for almost a decade now as a software engineer in various domains such as IoT, solar panel installation, accounting, developer experience, platform engineering, and payments. Mainly, and I think my previous last two companies were on fintech. So I started my journey as an InfoSchool student at IIT. During my InfoSchool period, I worked at 99X for 5 years. Then for a short duration, I joined Platformer. With WSO2 acquiring Platformer, I joined WSO2, their product choreo in their data plane department. So Omise was my first international exposure, working as a payment engineer in their card team, handling Visa and MasterCard integration. So Omise is one of the largest payment orchestrators in Thailand. So today I work at EarnIn, a Silicon Valley startup, as a senior software engineer based in Thailand, focusing on developer experience and productivity. Also, a little bit of fun fact, I have been a digital nomad for a while. I mean, nowadays, not much, but used to be that. So let's dive right into today's topic. So I'll start with a very simple question. Why do we build software? Is it because if we don't, we will no longer have jobs? Is that the thing? I mean, partially. But I think most of the answers will be around that is to solve problems, to make things easier, or to deliver value, right? Value is what user feels when it works. And that is true. I feel like that probably sums up why do we build software. So, but coming into today's topic, right? The real value we deliver isn't in our code, our architecture, or even in our design. It's in the experience the user walks away with. Just think, if an app crashes at checkout or loads slowly, no matter how elegant the design is, cutting edge backend technology, right? You name it, they have Kubernetes, Kafka, this and that. Will you stay? I personally won't. I'll stay until there's the next best thing, right? If I can't order my food on time, if I can't see my bank account amount in time, right? I will not be pleased with that experience. It doesn't really matter to me as a user what sort of a backend you are using, front end you are using, how many 10x engineers you have. None of it matters. So the thing is, if your user experience is not great, right? Users might tolerate it for a while, but they'll leave the moment a better alternative appears. So that's why most successful companies today, from OpenAI to Airbnb, Google, Apple, are obsessed with their user experience, right? For an example, I think the closest one I can take is LLMs, right? So transformers and related technologies existed for a decade, probably more. But OpenAI cracked the code by figuring out very intuitive user interface, right? A chat interface to bridge their technology to the users. It wasn't anything new. We have been using chat for almost more than a decade now, right? In our social media, before that, I think IAM, instant messaging platforms, things like that. So they kind of cracked it. They saw the user experience, they should saw the gap, and now they figured out their market and see how successful they are. I feel like OpenAI's success largely, apart from their, I mean, technical expertise, their excellent engineering, the user experience they provided, the bridge uh, that they filled is a large component in their success. So coming back to that, so today's world, how people experience your product defines how much they value it, right? So in this session, I'm not going to dive deep into Codo architecture because the topic we have, there won't be single architecture, a magic tool that's going to solve it. So instead, I thought we'll look into how organizations build and protect great user experience throughout their systems. We'll talk about the thinking, the flow, the mindset behind it. And I'll leave it to you to decide what technology or magic you'll use to make it happen. I feel like today's era, you have OpenAI, you have Grok, you have Gemini, right? How to do is available. But the key component is knowing what to search, knowing what to know. So what fundamentals you need to get around. So I'm going to drive this session throughout that mindset. So it's not going to be very lengthy. I don't think I'll take that 60, 70 minutes here, right? So I'll walk through my session if we have time. I would rather take some time to maybe answer your questions. You guys are in a hackathon, probably you are building a product, so we can walk through it. We can talk about it. Also, keep in mind, the flow I'll describe differs from company to company. So I've worked in companies that had 250 plus developers. So what I'll show is a generic workflow that has become standard in the industry in that scale, right? And from any company to company, right? You can't compare their processes. The software they are going to use, tech stack they are going to use, the processes they are going to use, everything is going to be different. But this is somewhat generic that I wanted to give it to you guys to make you guys understand how the process flows. And if I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow, please let me know in the chat, right? So we can adjust accordingly. I would like everyone to engage in the session. It's about 7, right? I hope no one sleeps at this time unless they're in a different time zone. So anyways, today we'll explore how engineering thinking protects that experience end to end and why the systems behind the scene are the backbone of every great experience. All right. Okay, I forgot this. So it's in the experience that you use walks away with. So I'm going to start with a very simple problem, very simple scenario that every day you guys probably run through. I mean, imagine this, right? You just got paid, I don't know, from your internship, from your freelance gig, or you got some pocket money, right? And you want a kottu from Plaza. And what are you going to do? I mean, 10 years back, I will have to hop into a bus, go to a Kolpiti, walk all the way and get the kottu from Plaza, right? But nowadays, you guys are given options. You have food delivery apps nowadays in Sri Lanka. So what you do is you search what you want, you pick what you want, and you place the order. And instantly, maybe sometime, you get the message that order is in the way. That moment feel instant, right? You just tap on a couple of screens, maximum 4, 5 screens, unless you get stuck in like what food to eat. Okay, I ate kottu yesterday and all that. If you don't get stuck in that, right? That moment feel instant, but behind it, the front end confirms your cart and location. A network layer sends the order through secure gateways. Multiple backend services kick in: payment processing, restaurant API updates, deliver assignments, map routing, all this, right? The system waits for each confirmation before showing you that beautiful screen. Your kottu is in your way. So to us as a user, it feels simple and reliable, right? So that's the invisible engineering orchestra powering every great user experience. Where users feel only convenience, never the complexity behind it. I don't know what backend they are running. I don't know how many processes they are running. I don't know how hard it was to get there for them, right? I only see a couple of buttons and my kottu is on the way. I'm a very happy person on my payday. So now we'll take a look at that orchestra, not to learn its technicalities again, but to understand the thinking behind it and how it protects the overall user experience, how each components kind of dive into them. So let's rewind for a second, right? You saw the button. How do you think that button got there, right? That placeholder button. How did it get here? So it starts with the product team who define the why, the problem to solve, the need they found. Okay, we need a better checkout screen. I need this button to be green color, something like that, right? Then the design team understand that query, right? Gets that requirement from the product team, who translate that intent into something users can see and feel. Okay, it's going to be sort of existing uh, user interface looks like this, new one is going to look like this, and these are the interactions users are probably going to have and all that, right? They are going to figure out how people are going to interact with it. And finally, the engineering teams who turn these ideas into real working systems. Each plays a different role, but they are all connected by one goal to make sure the user's experience feel effortless no matter what's happening underneath. So from here onwards, let's look at what are these teams, especially the engineering teams. I won't focus a lot on product and designing parts. I'll stick a little bit into the engineering side of it because that's where I work in. That's where my expertise is at. Um, all right. So this is the continuous screen. So once that design is ready, right? Then where the real orchestra begins. I mean, there was a different process before that, but here comes what we are looking for. So front end, back end, and integration all work in parallel, right? There will be a front end engineer, mobile engineer working on that. The back end guys figure out, okay, what needs to be done. So automation also quietly joins the team. The minute the code is pushed into your GitHub, right? The continuous integration pipelines compile, test, scan for vulnerabilities, verify the dependencies. It's like this tireless teammate who never sleeps, right? I'm pretty sure you have heard about automation, so I'm not going to explain a lot about it. Google it. I mean, talk to ChatGPT about it, Grok about it. So you collect in this session, make sure you collect these words if you haven't heard of it, right? Automation, pipelines, backend, front end. I mean, I really hope you have heard about backend, front end. But yeah, so in the pipe, coming back to the pipeline, if something breaks, the build stops right there before it ever reaches the user, right? So quality is not a final gate. It's a heartbeat that runs through every single commit that our product engineers are pushing it. So once everything pass, right? So this is one of the strategies we use to uh, keep a great user experience. So once everything is passed, right, everything is green light, build moves into staging, QA team might do some more testing. Now it's going to go into the production live. It's going to come to you, right? So we are not going to release these things in a Friday night. We hate people who deploy their new features on Friday night in the engineering orchestra organizations, right? We don't do that, right? We are going to pick a time where there will be less users. So the impact in case something goes wrong, right? We are always very proactive. We are trying very less to be reactive to problems. So we are going to see like, okay, on our data, right? I'll talk about observability and things a little bit as well. We know, okay, at this time, right? Monday, 2 a.m. in the morning, we have less number of users. So this is the time slot we can deploy our changes. So once it's been deployed or going to live, our work does not stop from there also. We need to monitor the system. We need to see, okay, my intent, is the system working correctly? Is it behaving correctly? Is it breaking? Right? So all these things, the majority of these things in modern organization, today's organizers are trying to automate it. They are trying to, I mean, they're doing their best effort to automate it. So this foundation of automation is what lets platform and QA teams to ensure every release feels stable and consistent, release after release. So it's not in a large organizations, right? It's not like a deployment happen every blue moon. It happens maybe it happens every hour. I think it's Twitter that does. I can't remember exactly. I think back then Twitter did releases like every 5 minutes or so. It was great. I mean, understanding that engineering process, they have to be very, very resilient systems, right? But here's okay. And then we come, right? I told you we are very proactive about it, right? We are not going to judge, okay, is going to be fine. I deployed, everything's green, I go and sleep, right? It does not happen. Even with the best preparations, things sometimes break, and that's okay, right? It's acceptable. It happens. I mean, there was AWS outage and a Google outage very recently, as I can remember, right? So what matters is how we respond to this situation when things go wrong. The moment something fails, alerts fire off instantly, right? We need to know, okay, something broke, and it doesn't have to be a human looking at the, I don't know, screens. It's not practical to, I don't know, monitor a system where they have 100,000 users, 1 million users, things like that, right? So systems like PagerDuty, they are going to bring the right people together, right? Who's responsible for this new change and all that. They are going to come into, they get into a call. It's called a war room. It is actually like a war room. You'll experience it, I'm sure. So engineers, related engineers, they are going to investigate what's happening in the system, right? We need to understand where it's breaking through the logs, metrics, traces. There are different things, right, to find the root cause and fix it. So if needed, right? If needed, if we can't find the root cause fast enough, we need mechanisms to roll back into previous stable versions as well, right? We need to make sure our users do not feel this disruption. They'll not know there was a massive outage, something happened out, right? But for them to keep the business continuity, because business continuity depends on user experience, right? Whether they like to use it or not. So and then so if needed, they roll back, and finally team conducts a post-mortem. We call it a post-mortem. Not to blame anyone, right? Okay, you broke it, why did you break it? Not something like that, right? But to learn. I worked in payment systems, I work in fintech eras where we work a lot with people's money, right? I used to work with Visa and MasterCard. So when something happens, our main intention is to understand why it happened and making sure it never happens again. But I was never blamed. We never blame anyone. We just want to make sure the next step, right? It never happens again. That's our goal. It's never a blame culture. So, and we need this mechanism because reliability is not about avoiding failure. It's about recovering gracefully so that the user's trust towards our systems never breaks. Cool. So when users enjoy a smooth experience, like my Kottu ordering thing, right? They rarely think about the hundreds of systems working quietly behind it. Unless you are a nerd or a software engineer, you just want to figure out like, okay, what happened here, what happened there, and all that, right? But day-to-day users who are not techie, they don't really, I mean, most of my applications that we use, we don't really care, right? How it works, how does the WhatsApp work? It sends my message, right? So, but behind every click, every page load, every response, there's a network of teams working towards it. Product, design, engineering, platform, QA, security, and also SRE. I mean, there are a lot more. I did not add them just for the brevity of this session. So each protecting this experience from a different angles, right? So in my next slides, I'm going to break that system down and see how each of them keeps the experience reliable, safe, and seamless. All right. So first, we come into the product, right? So every great experience starts with clarity, right? You need to understand what you are doing. Why are you doing it? So the product team's job isn't just to decide what to build. It is to define why it matters and how we will know it worked, right? We can ship 100 different features, but if we don't know whether it's working or not, we are making a loss because these are engineering hours, these are time, resources wasted on things that never works, right? So when product managers also frame the right problem, everyone else in this ecosystem, designers, engineers, and platform teams can make smarter trade-off that still protect the user journey. So software engineering is a lot about trade-off, especially in software architecture, because there are probably 1,000 ways to get a single task done, right? But we need to understand the trade-offs. Are we going to support all the use cases, right? I'm bringing in this tool, this technology into the organization to solve this specific task. What are the problems that I'm going to endure? Because there's no perfect solution, right? It's often said in these architecture books, if you read, please go ahead and read, if you want a career in this. They say like architecture is about trade-offs. How are you going to weigh in which one to pick and which one not to pick, which one to drop, things like that, right? So coming back to our topic, a well-framed problem means fewer surprises, better focus, and measurable impact. We can measure what's happening around. We know what we are measuring. We know what's the problem we are solving, right? So because when why is clear, why we are building is clear, every decision from button color, I mean, little to simple button color, but to backend logic, right, stays aligned with what users actually value, right? If users want instant ordering without seeing a lot of food in the menu, that's a different way of building it. But rather than that, users don't mind staying for 5 minutes so that you can scrape all the restaurants and all that so that they'll have better options. That's a different crowd. But you need to understand the users. You need to understand the market, the audience you are delivering to. And then we come to the design, another important aspect. This is what users are going to see, right? And also, I think you'll probably go through a lot more workshops related to design. So with my limited understanding, so I'll explain how the design goes just to keep the flow going. So I believe design is not just about how something looks, right? Not about aesthetic, how beautiful a UI looks. It's about how it communicates the logic. A good design should hide complexity so users don't need instructions, right? So if it's a very complicated system, by default, especially if you're in a consumer application space, right? Like food delivery, things like that. If it is complex, users are not going to use it. They want a solution that's easy enough, right? So the good design like that, it directly helps engineers. Less number of user mistakes, less number of edge cases, less number of it's not working reports. The support tickets are the worst, right? I mean, as engineers, we like to work on the fanciest deals. But then again, when the support ticket comes, we have to support it. We have to do it. So we have to stop everything because there's a user who's facing a problem, right? So less support tickets, pretty amazing. So just to sum it up, design is how we make complex system feel simple and safe, right? Because with the complexity, we'll also be shape, little scared to use the system. So then it comes to product engineering teams. So by product engineering, what I meant was both front-end and back-end engineers working in a certain domain. So if you take this food delivery application, right, it's likely they'll work in microservices manner and they'll have different domains. For an example, there'll be a team responsible for payments and there'll be team responsible for restaurants. There'll be team responsible for drivers application, right? We have to break it down. So one of those domains, the front end and back end engineers who are specialized in that domain, we call them product engineers. It depends on some organizations, they call it something different, but for my uh, this presentation, I'll keep it that. So this is where engineering brings the vision to life, right? This is where product engineers, front end and back end step in. So front-end engineers build what users touch, responsive layout, instant feedback, smooth animations, right? They use framework, maybe React Native, Android, a lot of things are there. Then back-end engineers build what users never see, right? Scalable APIs, database interactions, how they talk across multiple microservices, how the communication happens, all that stuff, right? So, and also they'll make sure that system keeps intact, right? Under pressure, when there are attacks, I mean, under pressure, let's keep it there, right? So together, they translate the design from real from design into real world functionality. So they also, at the same time, they decide what are the alerts we need to set, right? I'm going to, so let's say the payment team, they are building, what do you call, integration with Stripe, a payment orchestrator, right? So when they're doing that integration, they need to put an alert if Stripe sends us a bad request, or if that API call fails more than 5 times a minute, something like that. So these alerts, these engineers need to decide. They are the ones who are going to sit closest to the product, right? As in terms of this engineering org. So they'll know, okay, how am I going to decide this fail? What are the monitors that I'm going to set up? Things like that. They'll be the ones who are responsible for. So again, when users experience speed and reliability, when all that worked fine, right? They're really feeling the invisible discipline of good engineering. It's often said like good engineering will always go unnoticed because you'll not notice it, right? It doesn't break, it just works. So we are not inclined to appreciate it because only the people who have worked in it know how complex it is, how hard it is to bring an experience like that into our mobile phones, into our laptops, into the web. It's a hard thing to do. So yeah, that's about the product engineering team. And then so usually nowadays we write test cases by ourselves, the engineers themselves. They write the unit tests for their applications, for their domain. So again, regardless of how great you are, how good you are, and all that, right? We don't just run organization with product engineers testing the product. We have a specialized group of people for that task. So even the best built systems need someone constantly testing, right? So that's where the quality assurance comes in. We call it QA, I think. So they validate every new feature, not just that it runs, that it behaves as intended. They talk with the product team, they understand the requirement, they look at the system from a different angle because product engineers are focused on building it, pushing it out, getting the feature out. The quality assurance makes sure our experience, the previous experience that users got is not breaking. So they are like another guardrail into the system. So every feature, every change passes through manual and automated tests. But I mean, recently I have not seen a lot of manual tests happening in the systems. A lot of companies are moving towards automation. So I think if you guys are looking into that space, that's a great space. And with all this AI coding and vibe coding happening around, my personal opinion is there'll be a lot of QAs needed to make sure our systems are um working as expected and they're giving the same experience, right? Um, so also, so once they are done with the automated testing, there will be regression suits, make sure yesterday's experience still feels like the same tomorrow as well. Means the new change the developer push, the product team push, will not break something that existed yesterday, right? Just imagine you could have, so from let's say cab, I mean, ride hailing apps, right? You could order bikes yesterday or tuk-tuk yesterday, but today you can't, right? I am. It's not that it's not available in my area. It's just the option is not even there, right? It could have been a simple mistake done by a backend team where they added a new filter into the query. So things like this are really going to hurt your user experience, right? Because the competition is so big. If Pick Me is not there, someone's going to go to Uber and order it. And Uber is not there, they are going to be to Pick Me and order it, right? And I have seen new players coming into the market as well. So they need to make sure their users stay in the same application. So they don't, to do that, they need to maintain a good experience. And this testing is not also an afterthought, right? It's not something that you think, oh, okay, my build has been going, I've deployed and all that. Let's talk about testing. No, it's not, right? It needs to be embedded into the build pipelines, like I showed earlier. Issues has to be caught early before it reaches to users. So because of QA, users never see broken buttons, mismatched layouts, random crashes, right? They make sure that stability is there. So each release feels like as stable as the one before. in a perfect world. This is not the case all the time. I'll come back to that. But in the perfect world. So then I think this might be a new term for you guys. So it's platform engineers, right? Platform engineers. So we used to call this segment DevOps infra as well, but nowadays in a lot of organizations they are moving towards platform engineers. They call that group platform engineers. So platform engineers build the rails that everyone else runs on, right? They design the CI/CD pipelines, manage infrastructure, and give teams reliable environments to deploy. So they create the dev environment, staging, production. They handle that component, which is very important, right? Also, they automate the builds, rollbacks, and observability. So they make sure the deployments are very swift, that product engineers does not have to dive in and debug their CI/CD pipelines, debug their environments. It's a very, I would say, time consuming and resource wasting task, right? We need our product engineers to catering to our users, building features, improving our experience, right? So because of the platform work, engineers can focus on features. For users, this translate into fast improvements, fewer outages, and systems that recover quickly when things go wrong. So in short, I would call platform turn stability into speed, right? So that's the platform engineering. But stability alone is not enough. Okay. Users also need to feel safe. Like if I'm putting my credit card, if I'm putting my debit card into a mobile application or something like that, I need to know that my data is protected, right? Otherwise, there are so many cyber hacks going, cyber crimes happening, and all that. I need to know the organization that I'm trusting my financial data with, my bank details with, that that it is safe, that I can trust this application to put it, right? So stability alone is not enough. Users also need to feel safe. So that's where the security comes in. So security is team and their work is not a one-time checklist. They can't take this OWASP checklist and okay, we are doing this, we are encrypting our passwords and all that. They can't just pick a list there, right? It's continuous awareness. They have to have their hawk eyes into the organization with what's coming into the organization and what's going out from the organization, right? So these teams monitor systems and traffics for suspicious behavior. And also there's an important thing that they do. They educate developers, right, on secure coding and secure coding practices. Because let alone security team in a company will be small compared to overall engineering, product engineering numbers, right? And the more eyes we have, more hands we have, more understanding we have about security is going to make that organization much more secure. Because uh, bad actors, like black hat hackers and people are like that, right? They are going to keep trying to exploit our system. But if we are well aware of what's happening around, so that means even the engineer, let's say they get a phishing email, if they understand what phishing is, if they are very before they click anything on their computer from third party, they are aware of what they're clicking and if they can check it out and all. So that's also another gate for the security team, right? So also they work in hand with platform and SRE teams to harden the defenses. They check with the vendors, they check with what other third-party libraries bringing. Are they up to certain standards? So in order for organization to have certain compliance and certificates, security team has to be very vigilant and uh, have to be very good, basically, right? So, and also their goal is not to block the progress, right? It is to enable safe progress. And I think I could not mention that in the product engineering to QA side. When I joined the industry, I mean, 2015, 2016, right? I often hear the term like QAs are there to find out bugs. Developers don't test it. You just put it out and QAs just do the testing and they fill the bugs. And there's this friction going on. There's this conflict going on, right? But I believe personally that's not how it should be. I think maybe it has changed. I haven't noticed it recently. The QAs are there to refine the system, right? More bugs you find in the system, that means more refine the systems be going out. Same with the security as well. If security is blocking, both parties need to work collaboratively to understand why it's happening, how it's happening, and how we can get through it. Because let's say an engineering team brings a new library, it's needed, and they must bring it in. But security team won't like block it just because it's third party, right? They have to understand the reasons, what are the risk of it, can we mitigate the risk, like how much risk can we take but if something goes wrong. So these things come from the security teams. And when users trust that their data is protected and transactions are secure, they use our products with confidence, right? We don't mind. I know Stripe is secure. I know, so therefore, any web application or a mobile application that shows, okay, we are using Stripe, I know that's a good place to. I mean, I don't have to worry about where my financial data goes. I know they are PCI DSS compliant. I mean, that's a compliant or certificate that you need to get if you're working with financial data. So I know that, right? And also, secure system just does not protect information alone. It protects the reputation, reliability, and that trust, right? Because if you see there's a company that they went through a data leak or something like that, they got hacked. So that reputation, the damage to their reputation is huge. They might not be able to recover at all if you're at small scale, right? So security is a very important component in the organization when it comes to that. So when that trust is tested, when things still go wrong, there's one last line of defense ensuring reliability every single day. This is somewhat a new concept. I would say maybe 5 years back, 6 years back, if I'm not wrong. Site reliability engineering. So they keep the lights on, right? They observe our systems. They they measure reliability through SLOs and SLIs. They assign error budgets to our product engineering teams. You can only have this amount of errors. You can have this amount of errors. If you're exceeding that, there's a problem. So that's a visibility they get. That's going to be a problem into our system reliability, right? Also, they build observability systems, right? Metrics, logs, traces. So I talked about in a previous slide when things go wrong. So usually when things go wrong, SRE team takes the command. They figure out, okay, who are the responsible parties, what happened there. They have the logs, metrics, and things like that. Also, they have proactive measures for that as well. They define, I mean, SLOs, error budgets are somewhat the proactive things. So also they figure out the recovery. Can we automatically recovery? There are places where not everything is urgent. And most of the time, things will go dark, things will break at a Friday night, a night, early in the morning. So you get the call, right? So in general, we don't like to bother our engineers like that. So we like to automate if possible, as much as possible. So the result of the SRE team's effort is users experience consistency even under pressure, right? So even there's a incident happening around, there'll be very minimal impact on the user's experience. So reliability stops being an emergency, it becomes a habit, right? They also promote, they do the workshops, they also promote engineers to make more alerts about it, build monitors about it. So what are the ways for us to understand if something goes wrong? What's the earliest that we can get to know about it? So that's that. So that's I've told you from the start. So that's about organization who have maybe 250, 300 people. So they have this separation of teams working on different tasks, different things, different domains. But in a startup, so what happens in a startup? So in startup, all these roles often live in one person, right? You have to be the front end guy, you have to be the back end guy, then you become full stack, and then also you have to build the infra, so you become the platform engineer as well, right? So same engineer, They are kind of working on all the different departments. But this principle still stays the same, right? You still need to be building secure application. You still need to have reliable infrastructure, resilient infrastructure, right? So those principles stay same. It's just the ownership changes from multi-team to multiple people. So they'll have to wear different hats all the time, figure out. Sometimes you have to figure out the product as well. Sometimes the product engineer has to go to the, I mean, it's very often I've worked in startups like that. You have to go and talk to the users and also come back with the requirement, refine it, build it to the front end, back end, and then push it out, right? Sometimes in the CI/CD also breaks, you have to take care of it. So that's normal, I think, something that happens often in a lot of organizations. So, but you move faster, you learn faster, and sometimes you break things faster too, right? But you learn a lot in these startups at the same time. So this, and whether you are a 10, have 10 specialists or 10 different teams, or one single multitasking founder, vibe coding and getting things done, the goal never changes from here as well, right? We are building system to make users feel confident, not complexity, right? So we are still preserving that, going towards bringing value to users, regardless in a startup or that. But the vertical stays the same, right? Infrastructure, security, reliability, site reliability, quality assurance, engineering, product design, all these things still remains the same. So, okay, I think we have time still. So I think then we come into I think I feel like personally, this could be the most important slide, um, because I want you guys to understand a certain mindset, especially when you are developing systems in today's world. As a new joiners, you'll be coming into the industry in a couple of years, right? And probably some of you guys might have already been in industry. It's changing very fast, but what remains the same from multiple decades. I talk with my seniors all the time. I talk with them. I mean, I asked them like, what has changed? From gist of it, a lot of people are saying it's the processes, tools may be changed, but the mindset, right? They have been operating has still been the same. So now that we have worked through how a feature travels from idea to launch, right? And how it relates to a better user experience as well. So let's take a pause and talk about what actually keeps great systems alive, the mindset behind it. Because tools, frameworks, or languages don't build great systems. If it did, there'll be a single tool that everyone is using. But that's not the case, right? We have so many different things. But people with the right mindset build great system. So before any process or tech or choice, so I feel like, this is my personal opinion, one truth stands about everything else. You can't build great experience, great overall experience if you're building products, if you don't understand the bigger picture of what you're building. If you don't know who's your audience is, if you don't know what your tool does, if you don't know what problems your uh, application is solving, right? And how that person is going to use the application, you're never going to build a great experience because it's very fragmented. You're building a system based on your gut feeling, which some other person will be doing something else, right? He might not expect a button here, he might not expect that certain workflow. They have been used to something else. So whether you are a product manager, I know this, I think this audience comes from different backgrounds. Some of you might want to be designers, product managers, engineers, software engineers, QAs, and all that, right? So whether you are so product manager, designer, or engineer, whatever your intention is, I suggest you to clearly understand three things. Whenever you go into whenever you are building a project, whenever you are going to a new organization, when you start working, right? What problem are we solving, right? Okay, I'm doing some .NET work, but what is it that I'm actually solving? And who are our users who use our system, right? Are they students? Are they tech guys like us, right? Is my audience of the software engineers themselves? And what does success look like for them? What's a great uh, like what makes them happy with our application? What makes it seamless for them, right? So when teams only see their own corner, the pixel, the function, the API, that experience fragments because you don't know how it relates to one to another. You're not thinking. So there are places where you have to think like that because in very large organization, you can't think about everything. If you work in Google and you are working in Google Ads or something, you can't think about Google search. But then again, you have to narrow down on a domain, like the part that you're working. You can't get so siloed down to, okay, I'm only focusing on this framework and I'm going to be expert on it. I feel like with AI era, right, with all these coding assistant tools coming in and all, that specialization is becoming, I wouldn't say less valuable, uh, little slightly less valuable, uh, right? But people want to understand, people want to get engineers who build better features. People want, and the organization want people who understand the overall picture and bring their creativity into the organization as well, because they need ideas now. The execution has got so fast, right? The things that we spend building months, if you talk to Lovable, Claude, something, maybe Gemini, you can build it in, I, I, I think could be 1 day, 2 day also. I've experienced it, right? So, but the more understanding you have about the system, more understanding you have about what you are serving, what your client base, so you can build more relatable experiences, right? So building is gotten cheaper now. Infra is cheaper. The tools are cheaper. Therefore, bringing in a value is the most important thing. So to bring in the value, you need to understand your users, things like that. So when everyone understands the why, alignments also happen naturally. So designers make choices that simplify life for users, like I explained. Engineers architect systems that protect reliability and trust because they understand it. I don't have to scale my system to 1 million, right? It's only going to be used by very specialized group of people who are only 1,000. So I don't have to bring in a lot of complexities of the system where it needs to handle 1 million users. Right now, it's at least it's not going to scale into 1 million because when you're building a system for 1,000 users versus to 1 million users, the cost, the effort are massive. The most important thing is if you are a startup or releasing a new feature is to get into the market, right? So you need to understand that. And product managers are also going to measure outcomes that really reflect real value, right? They know, okay, so this button is working. This new page, new feature we have given is really working because they have brought in a real problem to solve to the team. And this empathy, we call this empathy. We need to understand the users. Uh, we need to get into their shoes and understand, okay, how am I going, how is that user going to build this system, right? Use this system, sorry, use this system. Is he going to go to the home page and do something else? Does he want to see his account balance or how many trips he have done on the first screen itself? But if you made it like 10 different screens, oh, I mean, that's a UX part or the UI part, but still you need to understand it, right? So again, I think my closing remarks will be this empathy towards the system and towards each other is what sustains a great experience long after the launch, right? Please think about the bigger picture. You guys are in a, I would call the very exciting times, would be little tough, feel little tough also, but everyone needs to understand what's happening. The new technology is disrupting everything, right? So earlier when I joined, I had to learn the frameworks to build things. I had to learn the syntax. I mean, I did not have to learn syntaxes because IntelliSense and things were much better, but previous generation had to learn syntaxes also, right? But now with this AI coding and I mean, all these Claude, Gemini, Cursor, everyone coming into play, you don't have to worry too much about that also. So I think the most important thing will be for you to understand the fundamentals of it, where the value is happening. So fundamentals of the technology. If you have product, whatever fundamentals, principles they have, understand it from the core. You have great tools now. You have the best tools in the world that existed in our humankind to learn, right? You are the and you are the generation who has it most accessible also. So please use them, understand the big picture, uh, try with it, play with it, right? And also, I mean, the market might look very tough. As a software engineer after junior, I understand it, but also understand everyone is trying to understand what's happening also, right? Architects who are seasoned architects who have learned things for 20, 30 years. Now they also have to understand AI, how to work with it, how to get around it. So we both are starting, even though I have a couple more years ahead of experience with you, we are trying to learn the same things at the same time. We might use it differently, but the velocity or the entrance is the same. All right. So there it goes. I think next slide is the Q&A. I'll check what are the questions. I hope you do it. Also, best question might get a Kotti from Plaza. Might, right? No promises here. Let me have a look at Danilo, do we have any questions in the Padlet or do we have it on
We do have some questions.
in
Charith,
the Padlet? Is it?
one of our volunteers will share the screen
Okay, cool.
of the
Okay,
question.
put that. Oh my God, you really are a silent audience. Did you completely disable your mics?
They are using the Padlet to ask the questions, I think. If you can check the Padlet, the questions are over there.
All right, okay. So maybe we can share the screen. Someone can take over.
Yes, okay.
All right. I will stop sharing.
The Padlet screen is shared, Mr. Charith.
Okay, one second. Why can't I see it? Okay, I can't see it, but yeah. Okay, I got the link. So we have our first question. Cheerful Gecko. I'm gonna read the names as well, just to. Okay, yeah. So we have our first question from Cheerful Gecko. What tools do you use for product engineering? I think it's just a tech stack that I meant. It largely depends. The most recent one that I've used was React, Golang, as in the tools for CI/CD, we use GitHub Actions to check the vulnerabilities. We use Cycode, and Cursor is very famous these days. Copilot. So yeah, things like that. Okay, is software engineering at risk because of AI and automation? I don't know. It's, I think, a debatable question right now going on, but this is my personal opinion about it. The software engineering we used to know will change, like I mentioned, right? But with AI and automation, it will become so it will go into a different realm, I feel like. Okay, so now we can get things done more faster. So we can't be stuck in the technicalities of the things, because now we are in a phase where not to figure it out, because we have already figured out and we have tools to get it done, right? Now we are in a phase to figure out like what are the real user values. So now we have the opportunity to expand and build new tools, right? For example, Sri Lanka. So I live in Thailand. The digital experience in Thailand is, I feel like, years ahead compared to Sri Lanka when it comes to payments, when it comes to ordering things, how people consume technology. That's because Sri Lanka never, I think we never built technology to consume, right? I think our first big consumer application was Pygmy. Before that, I can't remember anything. And even right now, I think there are few good applications coming up. So see, um, because of AI and automation, now we can build these things cheaper and faster. So I see opportunity there rather than what do you call, be scared about it or be fearful about it, right? Yeah, I think that's it. There's a risk. A lot of people, we are also not very certain about where the industry is going and everything, but more and more. Also, one part of my job is to bring in AI adoption into the organization. And we see a lot of that happening in Silicon Valley, where and all around the world, basically, right? Because we understand AI is a great tool. We still need humans to operate it. It's a tool after all, right? We need humans with that cognition to understand the value, build it around, test it around, and things like that. It just makes our work easy. So we can't be fearful of the product. We're fearful to the tool. We must embrace it. We must learn it, right? AI and automation, learn it. Now, like I explained, right? You have guys have the greatest learning to the humankind known. The knowledge that you can get by a single ChatGPT prompt. Earlier, maybe it was 10 books. And not just that, you can also tell it to explain it to you as a 5-year-old. I have like whenever I can't explain understand something, that's the route that I go. I tell them to explain me this concept as if you are explaining it to 5-year-old. Then only I gradually upgrade it, right? So that I can understand more. Yeah. I think we can close that question. How do I become a wait, how do I become a product engineer? I think there's no clear path. I think basically if you are a software engineer in an organization, you're likely to be a product engineer. So in my slide, why I did that was I wanted to combine front-end and back-end engineers. So I think if you go into a large organization, even a startup, if you're a software engineer, you are a product engineer. But also, I think when I was in 99X, we used to have this concept called product engineers, are people who are not purely focused on the technical stuff, right? Just not about coding. We also understand the product we are building, right? And if your question is about, can I join a product company and build a product instead of being a service company? I think we have those two distinctions in Sri Lanka, where we have services companies, where we have product companies, right? Yeah, I think if you join a product, you become a product engineer by default as a software engineer. All right. So when working on a project with team members who have less experience in the project's tech stack, how we can divide the work effectively? Teach them. Get into a group right? So when I was in my infos call, my closest friends were 5, 6 people. I mean, as in because in infos call, we worked in different companies. So when we are doing a group project, right, we pick someone with their speciality, and then we ask him to explain the things. So what he does is he goes, learns, and explain it in a way we can understand it. So software engineering is all about teaching everyone else, right? We help everyone in this industry. It's not like, okay, I know something, I'm not going to teach it to my junior. No, we give it by our full heart. Please learn it, right? I remember sometime when working in at 99X, um, my CTU, I just joined. I was 19 or something. Just after school, I joined. Um, I had a question about basic authentication, right? I think probably you guys have heard of it. I was sitting next to my CTO in the same room, right? CTO, big position, right? Extremely big position. I was an intern, just started intern right after school. I went to him and I asked about basic authentication. I can still remember it. He stopped what he was doing and he explained to me about basic authentication and other authentication methods, right? So if a CTO can teach an intern about it, what stops you from educating your team members? It's if they are not willing to do it, that's a different story. But I feel like if you figure out a way to do it, it will be a great asset for you in the industry. Because the industry is all about mentorships, what do you call, nurturing other people. This is that kind of industry. We don't keep secrets, right? We want everyone to learn. We are very friendly and we like to nurture everyone. We like to build the previous. So if you figure out a way to teach your less experienced team members about the tech stack, how it works, and if you put an effort towards it, you set GPT and all that, right? I think it will be a great asset to you. Calm, Kiwi. Yeah. Okay, next up, we have Dapper Iguana. Okay. Hi, can I know if the industry professional use Lovable and stuff? And is it okay? Yeah, of course. I think it depends on the organization, right? Some organizations are mandating that you must use it. But I know a lot of organizations who are like, yeah, if it gets the work done, we should use it. Because, okay, so the industry, right? We are not in a way where we say AI is bad or you should not use it. We are in a way, please use it and figure it out fast and get understand it. We'll do whatever the investment that needs to happen, right? But please use these tools. Get it into your workflows. Okay. And yeah, it is okay. But it depends on largely depends on the company because some companies has different laws, different compliances and things like that. But so it depends. So personally, of course, use every free tool that you can to build stuff, to learn stuff. But remember to use these tools to learn first because you are still getting into the industry, right? You need the experience. So you need to understand how and why it happens. Same as what I just explained today. Okay, so that's out. I am trying for an internship since 5 months, but do not get what I should do more. Still, I did not get any. I think it's a bit of a tough question. I'm not entirely sure about how Sri Lankan internship market goes. Um, so think of in a different way. Try to get a market insight. Okay, who are being hired right now? Are they looking for people with more experience? Are they looking for people with, you know, from the slides that I explained, right? You understood how many different verticals are there for you to specialize in. When I first joined, it was software engineering, QA, and IT. But after a decade, there are so many, like there are product engineers, security engineers, and things like that. So I would suggest you to understand people who are getting hired, why are they getting hired? How do you get into their like whoever the recruiter's good books? How do you get their attention? Right? It could be maybe it could be blog articles about something that recruiter is interested in. So learn a skill, market it, create personal connections. Networking is very important in our industry. Yeah, so in my closing notes, I'll give a bit of a explanation on what 3 things we need to do, probably we can engage it. Yeah, and good luck with the search. I hope you get it soon. My question is, what's a common design mistake that oh, okay. I don't think I can explain this in depth because I'm not a UI UX designer, so I have a very vague understanding about it. Maybe just winging it, maybe not understanding user needs. That could be one. All right. And how can students prepare? Okay, so for future careers in industries transformed by AI. One, learn your fundamentals to the core. Just because you can build things faster, don't think that you can that you don't have to learn your fundamentals. Please learn about fundamentals to the core, whether it's AI, whether it's backend, whether it's something design platform or anything. First, learn about the fundamentals. Okay. And while you are learning the fundamentals, learn how to build something real world on top of it. Right? So you have a certain level of professional experience around it also. Anyways, this industry, right, was never about, okay, you learn from the university, you come and you do the job. No, it was never about that. You have to do a lot of self-learning in this. So coming back to that, so build something around it, try to market it, try to understand the entire workflow because it's very cheap to do right now. And you can do it, right? And learn how AI works. Learn how to make AI your best friend. Whether it's ChatGPT, Cursor, however, whatever it is, right? If you understand it, and like I mentioned, if you understand the big picture of of a problem that you are trying to do, you're already upgrading your mindset to bringing value rather than building things. Because I feel like building things, it's what's been outsourced to AI right now at today's technology, right? Still, it does not build the best out of the best. If you are the quality that you get when you prompt it from a junior engineer to senior engineer to experienced engineer are completely different. All right. So yeah, please learn the fundamentals. I would suggest to go from that, then build something, incorporate AI really well, understand what prompts work and what prompts does not work. What's one piece of advice you'd give us who hasn't landed their first job? Don't give up. Sounds very philosophical, but don't give up. Like I think my previous answer was also learn something to get around it, understand why it's not happening to you, right? Compare, as in compare. So comparison can happen in good ways. If you compare and if you're kind of degrading yourself, that's a bad practice. But if you compare and understand, okay, what are the things you need to upgrade into, right? That's a good comparison, in my opinion. I personally do it, right? Sometimes I compare with my colleagues. Okay, I do not have those qualities. It's a good quality to have. How do I get it to myself, right? Like that. So you can also do that. And do not give up on the hope, right? It's a tough market. I understand it. We all understand it. But it will get better, I feel like. But make sure you have a skill. Make sure you market yourself well. Build things, right? And showcase it. Please showcase your work. Not library system. Please don't do library systems anymore. Please don't do simple MIS stuff. No, don't do it. uh, Explore deeply. Explore deeply. What are the problems you can solve, right? Especially if you are looking for a bit of a portfolio plus learning, right? You can pick something that already exists, a food delivery app, something like that, and then you can do it. All right. So is it helpful having a good knowledge about back-end developing for UI UX designing? Uh, I mean, if you're specializing on that path, I feel like back-end developing, I don't see a direct relationship. Maybe front-end development. If you know front-end development, I think that will be great, right? But it doesn't mean like if you understand how API is written and all that, that's good knowledge. You can upgrade yourself. I mean, not upgrade. I mean, you can change careers to maybe become a full stack developer, right? Because I used to be a full stack developer where I was terrible at CSS and things, right? But if I had a UI UX background, I would not be. But now that because it's a hard skill to develop, I felt like well, I was lazy maybe. Um, but yeah, I think if you're a UI UX developer, your first goal will be front end development, understand how the front end works, right? What are the frameworks that they are using and all that. That will be your first step. And then maybe you can just dip into backend to understand what are the concepts. Okay, there are certain concepts that you can have. So it will kind of expand your knowledge. So it's there, we have something called T-shaped engineers, right? We have breadth of knowledge in different domains, and also in one vertical down in the T. That's where we have depth of knowledge. So search about it, T vertical, and see what you like. Yeah. What's the best way to code in either using AI tools or code ourselves? I don't think there's a best way. It really, so like I mentioned, if you are still a trainee, if you are still trying to work it out, once you understand the fundamentals, please use the AI tools as much as possible, right? But if you are without even understanding, you're using cursor or something to spit out React code or something like that, you are kind of digging your own hole, right? Because with these AI tools, it is great until it works. Once it doesn't, then you have to go and figure out like what happened. So if you don't have the fundamental knowledge of what's happening, what you have written and things like that, which you can't get if you don't code yourself a little bit, uh, it's going to get you stuck. You'll have to worship your what do you call ID or the cursor or something like, please fix this, please fix this, please fix this, right? So learn learn the fundamentals. So make sure whatever the code that AI puts out, right? You know about the hallucination with AI and all that. Yeah, so please learn it. Learn the fundamentals and then you play it around. Always understand why it's doing what it's doing. Ask the question again. Why did you go with this path? Was there a different way to do this? Right? Things like that. Ask. Um, what is the best way of learning, either deep learning or just get overall concept? I would go to ChatGPT and tell I'm a undergraduate learning software engineering or XYZ. Please give me a uh, what do you call it, study plan to learn deep learning. My expertise is at this. My math knowledge is at this. I need to increase them as well. I would talk to ChatGPT. That's what I usually do. And get that study plan. I think that's a great place to start with. You can use Grok also. I mean, if I feel like from the free tools, Grok is way better. Yeah, and Coursera has a couple of free lessons. Deeplearning.ai, if I'm not mistaken, they also have something. But please use these AI tools to learn. Talk with them, understand it, to put your questions in. It does not hallucinate as much as a lot of places. All right, we have a big question. I'm currently working as an intern SRE. I really enjoy DevOps area. I'm also quite good at development, but I don't plan to work as a software engineer. To strengthen my SRE career, I've started. I'm sorry, I'll read it. AI engineering concepts, not theoretical things. I mean, applied AI things and system design with architecture. I believe that being an SRE isn't just about ensuring 100%, but also understanding technology. Yes, this is brilliant. I think as long as you are not stuck in your verticals, all the new things will open to you, right? I'm glad you are taking that part. I think what you are leaning towards is platform engineering again, not specifically SRE. So that's a good way to build it because we need architects to build our clusters. There's Kubernetes, there's Kafka, I mean, all this management and everything. Um, Broader technical approach can help you 100% to grow as an SRE. I apologize, I don't have a very clear understanding on what are the SRE paths, right? Maybe you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll search about it, talk to a couple of SRE guys in my company, my friends, and I'll be able to help you out in that way. But I think what you are thinking is great. That's what we want as well. We need to constantly learn. We need to love what we do. I might be a bit of a nerd or geek, but I love this subject. This is what I wanted to do since I was a small kid, and it has treated me really well. And yeah, I've met great people as well. So if you are in a mindset to learn, to grow, this is the best place. And okay, industry helpful way. Industry and academics, there's often a gap between what we learn at university and what's actually used in software industry. In your experience, what's the best way for students like us to bridge that gap? Okay. One, read. So you can subscribe to, I mean, you can go on, I think Airbnb has an engineering, I'm just assuming you're a software engineer. So I'm going to answer with that, but oh yeah, software industry. So yeah, I'm going to answer based on that. So there are what do you call the blog articles that are posted by big engineering organizations like Airbnb, Google. I haven't seen Apple, Netflix, things like that, right? So one way I would go try to read it, whatever I don't understand, because we are also following certain standards set by them, right? Um, I'll go to ChatGPT, I'll try to dissect it, understand it more. That's one way. You keep in touch with the cutting edge. The next way is you figure out a networking opportunities, right? You figure out, okay, who I can talk to in the industry, who I can work with in the industry. So you keep talking about what's happening. And also, yeah, you keep honest. What do you do? Why do you do that? What is your like what's your bigger picture? What other technologies you use? That networking part will help you a lot. So please, okay. So I think Dandro, how much time we have?
We can conclude, sir, if that's
Okay,
what the
cool.
questions are.
Sounds good. So I'll conclude the session with something that my CSO told me in a very recent one-on-one I had with him. I asked him like he has probably 2.5 decades of experience in the industry. I asked him what are the three things you can tell me as someone who has experience with my level. What do you do? But I felt like it's relatable for everyone. The first point he told me was find a reason to do something, right? To do anything, we all need a reason. To learn AI, to learn XYZ, to launch your startup, you need a reason, right? You need a reason why it should work, why you are going to put your 100% into it, right? And the second one he told was have your growth mindset. Learn. Be curious about the world. Be curious about what you are going to do. Especially like if I take an example, if you don't learn about AI coding, AI or anything, like if I just sit out in my portion, I'll be like, okay, I'm fine. I work for this many years. I'll just chill here and all that. I will not survive in the industry, right? But in general, if you have the intention to learn, grow, right, you'll do great things. This is an ever evolving industry. You cannot not learn here and survive. I mean, you can, but then again, you can't climb up. You can't do the things that you really want to do and all that, right? So you need to continuously learn what's happening. You need to have the growth mindset. It doesn't have to be tech. It can be about your personal health, self-help, right? How we are going to be a better human. Things like that also, right? But I don't think you guys are at that age yet. But I'm just giving an example. Learning a sport. If you haven't done any sports when you were in school or something, learning sport because they teach a lot of different things. So have the growth mindset. The third thing was he told me to network. Please keep in touch with people that you have been around, right? I'm not sure how many networking events are happening in Sri Lanka right now with the industry and all, but if there's someone who can organize an event where university students can meet industry, maybe people who are working in the industry already, right? Organize a meetup. Who has that organizational power? Go ahead and do it. I mean, through this, right? Through like by organizing event like this. Please talk to whoever come to the organize this sessions. Talk with them. I don't understand why. I mean, I understand in this call there are too many people, so not everyone will be able to talk. But if you see someone from the industry, please go ahead and talk. That's your opportunity to understand the industry, right? And that's your we just talked about how tough the market is, job market is, right? Internship, how hard it is, and all that. So it is hard for us as well. But the only way is the networking. Someone should know what I have done. That trust needs to be there. Same way it goes for you guys as well. So yeah, I think it's I wish it was a little bit more interactive, maybe a different session that it will be. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And I really hope you guys learned something out of it. Please do connect. I'm on LinkedIn. Sometimes I post things. If I get this recording, I'll post it as well. And yeah, have a great evening and good night, everyone. Thank you very much, IITT, for giving me the chance. Please keep in touch. Keep learning. You guys are already privileged to do anything in this IT world. I feel like you have access to internet connection. You probably understand English. What more do you want? So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, and good luck with your hackathon. Good luck, team. Thank you, organizing team as well. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charith, for that incredibly insightful and inspiring session. Your experiences and perspectives truly gave us a deeper understanding for how robust and engineering forms the foundation of great UX. And as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to present this virtual token of appreciation to you, sir, for taking the time to inspire and educate us through this workshop. And thank you once again for being part of IX25.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. So before we wrap up, we truly hope you enjoyed today's session and that it gave you valuable insights to help you prepare for the upcoming design event. And for those of you who have not registered yet, deadlines close on 14th of November, so don't miss your chance to be part of it. The registration link will be shared in the Zoom chat. And we'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge our bronze partner, Westfield Campus Private Limited, a premier private education institution in Sri Lanka specializing in business and operations management studies and committed to academic excellence and career-focused education. We're truly grateful for their continued support in making IX25 a success. To all our amazing participants, thank you for being such an enthusiastic and engaging audience. We hope today's session has inspired you to explore new possibilities at the intersection of design and engineering. Good night and have a wonderful day ahead.